Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. Welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a little historical recipe. A few of you recommended this book to me, and I had never heard of it before, and it is this one. It is called Lobscouse and Spotted Dog, and it is written by Anne Cholsoniff-Grossman and Lisa Grossman-Thomas. And it's a cookbook that was inspired by Patrick O'Brien's series Master and Commander. He wrote a series of books starting in 1969, the first one being Master and Commander, which of course was made into a movie, and ended up being a series of 20 books that took place in the early 1800s. And this book contains recipes from food that was referenced in those books. This cookbook is pretty comprehensive, includes Captain's Table, breakfast, Christmas at Sea. So I got this book for one particular recipe, and it is this one right here. It's got to be one of the worst sounding titled foods ever. It's called the drowned or boiled baby. As a mama, that's absolutely horrendous. But then I said, what is it? So I got the book, and it turns out it is a boiled pudding. And in the UK, pudding is a general term for just dessert. But in this particular case, it specifically means this kind of boiled, sweetened bread that is then served with a hot custard sauce. It's actually related to spotted dick. If you haven't seen my taste test of that video, I tasted a canned spotted dick. I will put the link to that up above and down below. And it's also very closely related to the figgy duff I made. I will also put the link above and down below, which comes from Canada. So let's go ahead and make ourselves a drowned or boiled baby. So in a large bowl, we're going to combine 4 cups of all-purpose flour, a quarter cup of sugar, 1.5 cups of raisins, a half teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm going to toss everything to coat here just to make sure the raisins are nicely separated. As a kid, I was kind of freaked out about those raisins that would get jammed in the corners of the little tiny Sun-Maid raisin boxes. I'd be just like, I can't get them out. They're stuck. They're just, something about digging my finger and trying to grab the raisins out of the box. The really tiny boxes just really creep me out. And then I discovered that you could open it from the bottom, but then I'm just like, they're still squished. Now that everything's mixed together, we're going to add beef suet. Beef suet is beef fat or beef tallow. It's been cleaned and processed, and I'm using this brand. It's called Atora, and I actually had to order this online. I wasn't really able to find it around here. Apparently, it's for fluffy dumplings, pastries, puddings, and pies. I'm adding a ½ pound of beef suet. All right. Stir this all together. I like how the beef suet's kind of pelletized. It looks a little bit like maggots or something. I bet my brother's gonna love that comment. Homie, because you love maggots. Anyways, maggots are great. So now we're gonna form this into a dough. I've got about a cup of ice water here. We're gonna add this slowly, just 1 or 2 tablespoons at a time. And it's important that it be nice and icy cold. Oh, an ice cube fell in there. Go back. Thank you. So now that this has become kind of this shaggy mass, I'm going to turn it out onto my counter. Boink. And we're going to form it into a ball. Alrighty, so here is our ball of dough. Now I've got it on a well-floured surface. Now it says to cover it. And let it rest for 5 minutes before we knead it. Okay, be back in 5 minutes. Okay, so the dough has been resting for 5 minutes, and now we're going to knead it for 6 to 8 minutes until it is shiny and elastic. So I love dough, and I love kneading dough. So a bit of resting time allowed the flour to absorb more of that water, and it is much more dough-like and less crumbly than it was before. These raisins are just like wayward. They're like, get me out of here, I'm flying out of this place. So I'm kneading, and then they kind of just pop out like that. That's all right, we'll just squish them back in. Those are the spots, by the way, when you have a spotted dog or a spotted dick. That's what they're talking about, the raisins. The raisins are the spots. And I'm a little vertically challenged, and these counters are not designed for someone of my stature. So I'm on my tiptoes at the moment, so I can get a little bit more leverage on my dough. And it's amazing how the dough transforms. If you've ever kneaded dough before, you just know that with some patience and some energy, the dough does indeed start to transform. So what we're doing is we're encouraging the formation of gluten, which is the protein in your flour that gives that chewiness to your bread. So if you make bread with bread flour, which is higher in protein, you're gonna have more of that chewiness. Yes, I love chewiness. So here's our dough after its final kneading, and it's looking lovely. So I've got myself some plain unbleached muslin. This actually came out of my cheese making kit. If you haven't seen my homemade mozzarella video, I'll put the link to that up above and down below. And well flour it, because we don't want the dough to stick. Now we're gonna take the dough and form it into a cylinder. And once you begin shaping it into this kind of shape, you begin to understand its namesake. Place that into my muslin, and I'm just gonna roll this up, gather the ends. So next we're gonna cook this thing. Got a huge pot of boiling water here, and I'm going to lower it into the water. Goodbye. Now, we're gonna cook this for 2.5 hours. So while the pudding's boiling, we're gonna go ahead and make the custard sauce that traditionally accompanies the boiled or drowned baby. And the recipe is right up here. So this custard is basically a crème anglaise, which is French for English cream. And it consists of 4 egg yolks. Where'd I put my 4 egg yolks? Huh? In the sink? No, in this bowl. Yes, 4 egg yolks. Into my bowl, a 1/4 cup of sugar, pinch of salt, and mix that together. Now we're gonna add a 1.25 cups of milk. Okay, bowl is spinning. And a 1/4 cup of heavy cream. So I've got a pot of boiling water here, and I'm gonna just set this pot right on top. We don't want it to touch the water, we just want the steam to heat up the bowl. And now we're gonna stir this constantly until this thickens up. Has it been 10 minutes yet? Take it off the heat now. 1 tablespoon of brandy. Dun 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 dun. Oh, that's hot. Now there it is. Now you can see how this pudding got its name, the drowned or boiled baby. Gosh, how morbid. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and unwrap our pudding. I'm glad that the recipe noted that we should wrap this pretty loosely because it expanded quite a bit. Oh my gosh. Oh my word, look at this. It's a little bit flat on the bottom, but we'll just turn it over. Here we go. Oh my goodness. So I've got the custard I made earlier and poured into this little bird, so it'll look like it's puking all over my drowned baby slice. And let's go ahead and taste this. Wow, it's pretty dense. Oh boy, look at that. That's beautiful. Oh, immediately I smell raisins. It smells great. Look at that texture. Because it's such a big piece of dough, I was a little bit concerned that this wouldn't be fully cooked, but it looks great. And now we're gonna pour our custard right on top of that. Oh, it doesn't come out of my bird's mouth very well. It's kind of gacking. That's not working. Alrighty. Dollop our beautiful custard cream on top. That looks lovely. I think the last time I had this, it came out of a can, and all my British friends were like, what are you doing? Spotted dick in a can, custard in a can. It's pretty nicely. It's definitely dense, but that sauce I think is going to lighten things up. Itadakimasu. That's really nice. The custard is definitely required. The custard is definitely required. It's a bit like when you have pancakes and you have syrup, and the syrup really kind of enlivens and sweetens the pancake. Custard does a similar thing here. The pudding itself is actually very lightly sweetened, kind of like pancakes. The raisins also offer up a little bit of natural sweetness as well, and they have a delightful kind of plump texture to them. The pudding itself is pretty dense. On the outside is a little bit kind of gooey. In terms of flavor, it reminds me a lot of biscuits. It's kind of that enriched, floury, bread-like flavor. It's kind of like a boiled biscuit raisin bread. Yeah, just not as sweet. And then you've got this great milky custard on top. A very light dessert, actually. And in case you're curious, this doesn't taste beefy at all. The suet adds some richness to the pudding, but it doesn't taste beefy or savory at all. If I were to compare this to the figgy duff that I made, this has a very different texture. That one was a little bit fluffier and lighter. As I remember, that recipe included a little baking powder or baking soda, so a little bit more leavening. This did not. This just contained purely the suet, so makes sense that this would have a denser texture. Alrighty, so I just made a drowned or boiled baby pudding. Let me know down in the comments below if you've ever had this style of pudding before. If so, what are your favorite flavor combinations, recipes, yada yada. Also, let me know down in the comments if there are recipes or things you'd like me to test out and try. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I hope you guys learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media, like this video, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye! It's not soup.